this way. I set up the orientation for portrait instead of landscape, but yeah, there we go. We are live, and yeah, it is 24 hours plus without electricity that we have now been. I think we're already going at about 26, 27 hours that we have been without electricity. I'm doing this on my phone because, well, my other devices are dead at the moment. There's no more battery left in the laptops, both the laptops that I work with, and there is no power left in my inverter system. My inverter system is fairly decent. It's designed to run for about 14 hours, and it ran its full 14 hours before it eventually died. So you can only expect your inverter system to run for so long. We are prepared, but unfortunately, we are faced with an abnormal situation where we have a feeder line that comes in from Eskom, which has now died. And this is a feeder line coming from Eskom into Matlasana. And for those people who don't know where Matlasana is in Klerksdorp. It's a Klerksdorp area, or that we know commonly as the Kosh area. Kosh stands for Klerksdorp, Orkney, Silfontein, Hartbeesfontein. And we have been without electricity now for, as I said, over 24 hours. And it severely affects not only individuals, it affects us as businesses as well, especially people who work from home, like myself. I work from home. And Katerina Rust says, hi to you. I hope you guys can hear me. I hope the sound is okay. I'm sitting out on my porch because it's one of the few places where I do have fairly decent lighting. We do have wind, and I hope the wind isn't affecting this thing too much. And suddenly the wind has decided to pick up quite a bit, and the weather has changed. And in the house, you have got no lights. All the energy saving lights with the rechargeable globes have all died already. 24 hours is a long time. And the major concern is now things like fridges start running down. Now, what we have done in the past, because this is on recommendation, everyone needs to prepare for these kind of things. So we had 2-liter cool drink bottles stored in the freezer. These became blocks of ice, and you put this in your fridge. It does help. But unfortunately, it's not the same as a fridge. And we're hoping that this power problem will be sorted out soon. And basically, just for those people who are interested in the technicalities, in our area, in the northern parts of Matlasana, where we are, we have 4 feeder lines coming into our area, and they all seem to be problematic in one way or another. One of the lines completely just seems to have died. Line 3 has a technical flaw somewhere that they are trying to find, and then line 2 was our main feeder line, and then the last one is the hospital line for our Ankron Hess Hospital. And yeah, that number 2 line has now died, and the connectors that they need are missing. There are no connectors for these high voltage lines in the Matlasana area, and they have actually now dispatched someone very early this morning to Johannesburg to go and try and find these connectors. They need 6 of these connectors, and it's an incredible process to get these lines because it's highly connected. You know, it's these oil-based lines, and the technical guys out there will tell you it's not a quick job. It's not a simple job. It's a complex job. But unfortunately, our main problem is that our stores, our electricity department in Matlasana, like many other municipalities out there, do not stock these. They do not, it seems that they don't foresee a problem like this ever occurring. So these things just end up becoming a major problem when they do occur, because the stores do not keep these in spares. Why not? I do not know. Perhaps they're afraid that they are going to get stolen, because there's a lot of components in there that have a high cost to them one way or another. And we end up in situations like this where we have extended periods without power. If you do hear that hum in the background, those are generators. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 generators in the immediate area. A lot of these places do have solar, yes, but the solar can only run so much, so they use high capacity generators. Fortunately, there's a business directly across from us that used to have a generator, and where I'm sitting, you wouldn't have been able to even hear me talk, but unfortunately they had to go down due to economy and all kinds of other reasons. Now, one of the other things that is incredibly frustrating about a situation like this, where we have no power, no electricity, is when communication, updates cease. I don't blame the ward councillors. I actually know a couple of these ward councillors in our area well, and I do know one or two of them very well. And I know the frustrations that they go through with the contractors and the municipality when it comes to updates and trying to get information from them. I even know that a couple of the contractors, sewer contractors, electrical contractors, even the roadworks, etc., have blocked ward councillors because they bug them for information the whole time, which I think is fair. That you need to give your residents updates. Your residents have a single point of contact, and that's their ward councillor. The ward councillor has to take it a step up. However, the municipality is failing the ward councillors in that they do not supply those updates, because it seems they have either no capacity or no will to form a channel between the contractors who are doing the work and a communication channel which then updates the ward councillors, so that ward councillors try and communicate with the contractors who are doing the work directly. And this creates some kind of an overload of information for these contractors, that there's too many ward councillors asking questions the whole time and updates, etc. Now, how often should one update? How often do you, as a resident of an area, when you have these kind of problems, how often do you expect updates? Well, I would like an update every hour. But if it is totally unrealistic, then at least once every 2 hours. Even if that update says, you know what, we are still working on the problem, we have no further information, and we will let you know in the next update session. But at least just tell us, you know what, we do not have these connectors installed. We have sent someone at 4 o'clock this morning to Johannesburg to go and fetch these connectors, to buy these connectors. Then at least your residents know what is going on, what's cooking. This is information that I had to eventually get from a ward councillor. It didn't come from the municipality. If you go to the Facebook page of the City of Matlasana Municipal Updates, you will see exactly 0 updates regarding this current power issue. We've been without electricity for more than 24 hours, more than a day, and we have not had a single update from the municipality directly. The only updates we have had are from the ward councillors themselves. And I feel this is incredibly unfair towards citizens and towards ward councillors. How are the ward councillors supposed to keep their people happy and informed as to your planning? And communication is key, because when you do not have this kind of communication where your people know what's going on, then you start losing trust with the municipality, because it is a matter of, why aren't you letting me know so that I can just plan? Give you an example. In my case, we assumed erroneously, we maybe shouldn't have assumed, but normally we think that these electricity problems will eventually get sorted out, and they sort them out overnight. Unfortunately, what happened is I went to bed expecting, I'll switch on the geyser tomorrow morning and I'll have a nice shower, nice warm water. Come morning, I find out, oh, hold on, we still do not have electricity. And I'm not going to have that nice hot shower. However, if I had taken a shower last night, there was still warm water in the geyser. from the previous session that it was still switched on. Your geyser, surprisingly, actually stores hot water if you use it sparingly for a long time, 24 hours easily. And I would have showered last night if I'd had information that, you know what, we are not going to have this problem sorted out. And this is where this communication starts becoming an issue. If you don't have communication, you cannot plan ahead. Now, the thing comes down to my fridges and my freezers as well. Fortunately, we have a chest freezer, and we do have these 2-liter cool drink bottles that we have frozen previously, expecting these kind of, and they always a schlep. You know, the people that do this kind of thing, you have these 2-liter cool drink bottles in your deep freeze, know that it's always a schlep moving these things around because they do take up space. It's easy to say, yeah, you just have these stored there, but they're always in the way. Especially when you have a smaller chest freezer as we do, then these 2-liter cool drink bottles are forever in the way. But fortunately, we did hold on to them, and we do have them available to keep the freezers frozen and the fridge running. But now I do not know, because we are not provided the information. How long will this still be? How long will it be to get those connectors? Once you have those connectors, those 6 connectors that they need, once you have them in hand, how long does such a process normally take? Does it take 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, so that we can plan ahead? Do I need to go and buy extra blocks of ice? Do I need to make provision to go and buy additional ice blocks and charge up my battery bank blocks? I use one of these battery banks, which I've now connected to my cell phone just to keep it connected, but this is my 3rd one and my last one to charge up my phone and keep it charged. But I've got 2 of them, like this one, which is now empty, and it can't charge the phone anymore because I've got nothing to charge it on. But do I need to go and pay someone to charge these for me? Or what kind of thing? What do you need to do? What are your contingencies? Now, I do have a couple of things that I can do out there, which are going to cost me a couple of rands, which is going to cost me money. But do I spend the money knowing that I'm going to be without electricity until tomorrow? Or will it be an hour and then we have electricity again? And then I've wasted a bunch of money. And this is the point I'm trying to get down to. You need to plan your business and your private life around electricity and availability. And it's sometimes even simple things like just me trying to work, because I work from home. And if I do not have electricity, I can't work. Hi there, I see there's a, sorry, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, Abdul. I'm not going to try and pronounce the rest of your name. It's a little beyond me, but hi from Zimbabwe. Thank you for popping in. But I'm sure you're one of those type of people that know what it's like to fall into situations where you have no electricity. But when you have scheduled electricity, you normally plan for that schedule. You know you're not going to have electricity, and you plan for it. You arrange things around it. But in an unplanned situation, as we are now, we have now been for 24 hours plus without electricity, and it's unplanned, suddenly a lot of things happen which breaks your normal routine of work. And it's not just work, everyday life. Yeah, I can't just quickly go and make myself a lunch, like a quick toast or something. And let me just quickly see what Abdul said. I absolutely hear you, and I feel currently going through. Yes, it's bad. We can't. I think a lot of us do not realize how dependent we've become on electricity. How many of our devices have become dependent on electricity? And the moment you have no electricity, things slowly start falling apart. And the longer you've been without electricity, the more things start falling apart. Water storage, our water pumps we've already now been warned that we need to be careful with the water that we have, because there's only so much water in the reservoir, and it's currently not being pumped into the reservoir because there's no electricity to run the pumps. But if there's no water, you also have no, you can't flush toilets as an example. You can't take showers, you can't wash washing, all those general everyday things. And it comes down to electricity. So it's a hard life out there, and it's becoming almost a kind of norm. I know there are places out there in South Africa in this year that have been without electricity for days. On a video that I posted on my Facebook, the people just said, yeah, but this town, they were without electricity for 6 days, in this one also for 6 days. Sometimes it's a week. Imagine being without electricity for 6 days. What happens to the food in your fridges, in your freezers? Do you just throw it away? Do you try and eat what you can eat? And everything goes to waste. How does a business operate, especially if you have a business dependent on electricity, like a hair salon, as an example, drying people's hair, etc. You have no electricity and your business cannot operate. If I have a computer store that requires electricity to fix my customers' laptops, PCs, etc., if there's no electricity, it can't run. And it's easy to say, invest in solar systems. Solar systems are expensive, and it does appear in many cases that, oh, you're currently now getting free electricity, etc. But solar systems have a maintenance period, and after 10 years, etc., batteries need to be replaced. Solar panels don't last forever. Solar panels get damaged by hail, and solar panels need to be maintained. They need to be washed and cleaned from time to time, because if you leave a solar panel to become dusty and dirty, etc., its efficiency reduces, and can reduce by as much as 40%, I believe, in some cases, depending on the type of panel and how dirty it gets. And in an area as we are here, panels do get very dirty, and I see what's one of those services that a lot of people now offer are solar panel cleaning services. So solar does have its limitations, and it is, the initial investment is very expensive. And when it comes to a small business, how do you pay for that? You need to now invest in that, and it needs to be added onto the product costs. And that means that you now make either your service or your products more expensive, because it has to be worked into that, because that part of profit needs to pay for that solar and the maintenance thereof and the replacement. So these are things people sometimes forget, especially when you have a larger type business that needs a little more electricity than the general home. Let me just see some of the comments people have here. Eskom's quick maintenance. Yes, 9 hours with electricity. It's horrendous. One of 44 says, that is if you bother to send out a notification. Oh yes, true. Unfortunately, unplanned maintenance is a lot worse than anything planned. If there is any kind of a notification, communication is key. If there's communication, you plan around these things and you work with it. You can become, all right, Abdul says, you can become very miserable when the electricity goes for several days, no Wi-Fi, you can't even communicate. That's very true, our communication. In the past, we've had times when there's been no electricity for longer periods. Then the cell phone towers start going out. The cell phone towers prioritize their work according to communication, and your call voice communication is priority number one. So when the batteries start running dead, the data batteries or the data gets switched off first, so that your call function remains. And once you lose things like Wi-Fi, etc., you lose email communications. In some cases, you can't even do transactions, because many of these little transaction devices that they have in the shops rely on a data communication. So yeah, those things also start running dead. So yes, there we go. That's a bit of my lunchtime live. I do apologize to those people that were expecting a landscape. I'll try and do the next one in landscape, but and maybe in future I should do a little more of these lunchtime live videos, a quick little 20-minute video discussing an issue of the day. So I need you people out there to let me know, what do you think? Do you like this quick little lunchtime live discussion? I might not always have a subject, maybe just talk in general about things that have happened. Yeah, things like this past weekend's G20. I was with family, so I missed a lot of the G20. I do not really know what happened there. Was it really of benefit to South Africa? Yes, South Africa was the host of this whole thing, so we brought a lot of people from other countries to South Africa to discuss a whole bunch of things, but was it really worth it? Was it of economic value to the citizens of South Africa? Was the cost that we as a country spent on the G20 worth it to you as an individual? Do you believe that what we gave the world and what the world we got back in return was worth it to you as a citizen of South Africa? So let me know those two things. Do you think I should do more of these lunchtime lives? And what do you think about electricity and the things we've just discussed? Oh, and number 3, what do you think of the G20? Was it worth it to you? So yeah, that's it for the day, and may all of you, I just quickly want to read one more. 1044 says, my machines don't appreciate sudden loss of power. Yes, I know that one. I've lost a laptop through that. We had a neighbor who did injection molding, damage from one interruption. Of course, yes, it's true. I'm quickly going to discuss that one. Damage to equipment when you do have power surges or things like brownouts. One of the most dangerous things that can maybe happen in an electricity system is when you have the hertz changing from 50 hertz to 55 hertz, etc., and brownouts and surges of power. Brownouts are obviously when you have the power dropping from 200 volts to 200 volts or even lower, 180 volts, and all kinds of weird things can happen. And obviously power surges can damage other, especially things like sensitive audio equipment, laptops, PCs, sensitive electronic equipment, fridges, and microwaves and things like that. And I've seen insurance companies now say, you know what, we are no longer going to cover these things for electrical surges, etc. I have had one such. I had a laptop which actually got damaged through such a surge, and it was confirmed by a electronics engineer that actually went into the thing, and I got the insurance to pay out a new laptop. It was a mission. I lost so much. It's something I don't want anyone to go through. But imagine it happens to someone who doesn't have insurance. It's very easy for everyone out there. Yes, but you need to have insurance. We are in an economy where some people simply cannot afford insurance. And when you have situations like this, where you have unreliable electricity, you have people whose equipment gets damaged who cannot afford insurance. People on the lower income spectrum are hurt the most in situations like this, when people who can least afford to have losses of the frozen food in their fridges and deep freezers go off. They cannot afford to simply just replace that or claim it from insurance. Those are the people who get hurt the most. So we need to think about those things and those people as well. Anyway, let me know. Did you like this lunchtime live? Hit that like button, and I'd like to see more subscribers, and hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.